Today's video was actually going to be on Mitt Romney. It was going to be my first political video ever on my channel, and I was going to be basically explaining why I think Mitt Romney fails. But that video is going to be delayed a little bit, and it will be uploaded on Tuesday instead of today. Today's video is why I left the church. I've mentioned in a lot of my videos that at age 18 is where I left the church, and then all the way up until 20, almost 21 years, I'm almost 21 years old. And then a couple weeks ago I made the video, I'm leaving religion. I just would like to clarify one thing before I start on my why I left the church. I made a video on my channel a while back known as Why I'm a Christian. And this video, when I made it, I was already on a decline away from Christianity. I was already on a decline from leaving religion. A lot of people have watched my Why I'm a Christian video and then see a video I made several months later saying, oh, now I'm done with religion. A lot of people are saying, Daniel, you're a phony. That's not genuine. You can't just be a Christian 1 week and then 2 months later leave religion. Yes, I can, because like I said, this was an ongoing process at the age of 18 when I first left the church. It was an ongoing process, and the only reason I made Why I'm a Christian at that time is because it was requested by people, so I made the video. And at that time, I was a Christian, but I was slowly falling away from it. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Even during that video that I made, I was already struggling with Christianity in that video, let alone. So it was only a matter of time in my own life that several months later that I was eventually going to leave religion to begin with. But I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't something that suddenly, oh, I'm a Christian, now I'm not. This has been a this has been a very slow change since the age of 18 over the past few years. So with that said, why did I leave the church? I have several reasons, and I'm going to tell you why. First reason I left the church, and I realized that this is not just a church thing. Hypocrisy exists, whether it's the YouTube community, the atheist community, it exists everywhere. Whether people are Christians, whether you're not a Christian, hypocrisy exists everywhere. This is not something that's just predominant within the church. However, I believe that it's more embedded in the church than it is in other places. So, number one reason I left the church is hypocrisy, and I'm going to explain to you kind of the reasons why I left for that reason. Back in the day, I used to attend church at age 6 all the way up until 18. I attended this same church. I love the pastor of that church, but a lot of the people of the church is the problem that I had. More specifically, when people, a group of Christians about my same age, started to attack me because I love Star Wars. For those of you who don't know, I'm obsessed with Star Wars. If I could have sex with Star Wars, I would do it. I know that sounds weird, but that's how much I love Star Wars. Star Wars is a huge part of my life. These comics here, all Star Wars. I just love Star Wars. I'm addicted to Star Wars. I live and breathe Star Wars. They came on to me and they said, Daniel, did you know Star Wars is evil? Do you know that Star Wars is a form of pantheism? Which it is, by the way. Star Wars, in essence, has the concept of the Force. The Force in Star Wars is very pantheistic. In other words, God is everywhere, or there's, the light side, the dark side, there's good and evil. Star Wars is actually very mystical and very spiritual. I don't know how many people realize that, but Star Wars has a lot of mystical elements into it. And they were saying that because it supports pantheism, and pantheism is spoken against in the Bible, and because the Bible doesn't support pantheism, I am therefore in sin, and I shouldn't love Star Wars with the amount I do. In fact, I shouldn't even watch Star Wars. And I was used to this. I was always condemned for things that I liked and things that I enjoyed that didn't line with their view of what Christianity is acceptable and what's not. But, again, they just condemned me for liking Star Wars, and I would get in debates with them all the time over the issue. On the same point, hypocrisy, they attacked me and condemned me for my love for Harry Potter. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I love Harry Potter. I love the world of Harry Potter. It's just rich, it's imaginary, and I love it. Harry Potter was a big part of my life then. It still is a big part of my life now, although I still wish Harry Potter stuff, content, and movies were still made, but that's just not the case anymore. Sadly, teardrop. But they called me out on Harry Potter and said, "You like Harry Potter. You're going to become, you're supporting witchcraft. You're going to become a warlock. You're going to become a witch. Didn't you know young children get into witchcraft and all these evil things by watching Harry Potter?" And I was just like, dude, I like Harry Potter. I'm not going to become a witch or start casting spells because of Harry Potter. Do you not understand that these things are a part of me? I am a frickin' geek, for God's sake. I love Star Wars. I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I love magic. I love all these things, right? Well, they were condemning me for this. And again, just goes to show you that it's kind of hypocrisy, in a way. And just let me explain. And then, this is where the hypocrisy really stands out. So they're against Star Wars pantheism, they're against Harry Potter, they're condemning me for all of these little things, right? So me being the person I am, I said, okay, you know what, you want to condemn me, I gotta censor myself. You want to condemn me? How do you justify the fact that you love Lord of the Rings? Boom! Right there. Lord of the Rings. White wizards, the ring, magic, spells, what are they, not sorcerer balls, it's the Eye of Saruman in the first movie with that crystal ball, and they can see in the future, you know, mystical things, spiritual things, that contains witchcraft. They have staffs that shoot magical powers, and these Christians who are condemning me loved Lord of the Rings. And I called them out on this. I'm like, you're going to condemn me. If that's the case, then how do you justify Lord of the Rings? And you know what they said to me? This is where I said I'm done. Like, I can't deal with this shit any longer. They said, Gandalf the White Wizard is a representation of Jesus. Gandalf gave his life for Frodo and then resurrected. Gandalf is Jesus. And I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. So because Gandalf is Jesus, therefore that justifies them loving. And I was like, first of all, the Bible speaks against witchcraft. Jesus speaks against wizards and wizardry. Gandalf is a frickin' white wizard, for God's sake. A white wizard. Do you not understand what that entails? A white wizard. How can you associate Jesus with being a white wizard? Wizard. Are you that daft not to comprehend? But my point is hypocrisy. They condemn me for something, such as Star Wars and Harry Potter, and then when I call them out on the same thing regarding Lord of the Rings, which contains the same magical elements that they're condemning me for liking and loving, it's okay because they can justify it. Point 1. Hypocrisy in the church. That may be a weird example, but I know there's lots of other examples I could use, but that's just one. And that's a really passionate subject because I'm a geek and it means something to me when someone condemns me for liking Star Wars simply because it's pantheistic. Shut the hell up. Point 2, judgment. Judgment exists whether it's in the church or not, but more predominantly I believe it's in church. I believe, here's the thing, I believe that the church should be a place of love and acceptance, whether they're gay or not, whether someone has committed adultery or not. The church should be a place of love, acceptance, and compassion and mercy. I believe that the church should be a place for sinners, even though I don't. I believe the church let me rephrase that. I believe the church should be a place for broken people, not a place for saints. And that's the problem I have with most churches today, is instead of accepting people and loving people for who they are, whether they be gay, transsexual, whatever, it's a church of saints, of people who think they're better than other people, they're superior than other people, that everything by far, the church is their little sanctuary where they can believe that they're superior to other people and just reside in their own religion and put themselves above other people, condemn and hate other people, and not love people and accept people for who they are. Again, I'm going to repeat it again. I believe the church should be a place for broken people, not a place for saints. 2 is judgment. So, there used to be an old lady in our church, and I remember this because my pastor was my old pastor was a very compassionate, loving person. And there were certain people in our church that believed that if you wore a skirt and this skirt showed your knees, you were in sin, that it was wrong, that it was evil, that it was not tolerated. They basically took up the law to say that this church has a dress code for people who are not in our church. That if a stranger comes into the church and is not dressed appropriately, they're going to go up to those individuals and condemn them. And this has happened. I saw it with my own eyes. This attractive young girl, who I've never seen come into our church, walked in, and she was wearing some, low-cut top, and she was wearing a skirt. And this old lady, actually she wasn't really old, she was like in her 40s, but this old lady had the veracity, the audacity to walk up to this person and say that you're not welcomed at our church because that dress and your top is inappropriate. And I remember when my pastor heard about what this woman had did, he was angry. Because he holds this kind of the same view I do, I believe, on the topic that the church is a place for broken people, not a place for saints. And that's why I really loved my pastor. I really liked my pastor. But a lot of the people within the church that he pastored were just legalistic, religious nut jobs. And he even, I remember talking, he even acknowledged that there are some crazy people within the church congregation, and it was just sad to me. So yeah, that's just one example of pure judgment, and that's one of the reasons why I left the church. My third point is rationality. I believe that a lot of people that go to church are very unintelligent, not all of them, but are very not rational. I believe that a majority of people who go to church, not all of them, but the majority of people who go to church sit and they are not capable of rational thought or science. This is one of the problems I had with church, is because so many people sit down and what they hear from the pulpit, they automatically accept as fact. Whether it be homosexuals are evil and need to be stoned and need to be killed, whether it be to judge other people, whatever the case is, I believe that when people sit in church, large majority of their rationale, their critical thinking process gets thrown out the window. Whatever they hear, they accept as fact. They don't take science as a credible source, and instead they take a 2,000-year-old book and use that as a book for science. And I'm sorry, but when I left the church and started investigating the science, the scientific method, evolution, there were things that just made so much more sense, and I just couldn't accept. Even when I was a Christian, well, I'm more of a Christian deist, but even when I proclaimed to be a born-again Christian who believed that the Bible was true and all these things, I couldn't accept some of the things in the Bible, like creationism. I just couldn't do it because I had a desire for science and I had a desire for fact. And evolution is pretty much a fact. It's pretty much established. I mean, we got so much evidence for it. It's quite astounding how much evolution has been shown to us in this world. And yet people still believe in creationism, the Earth is 12,000 years old, and that we just popped into existence from Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and all that stuff. So yeah, third point, I think rationality and science is really just looked down upon within the church. And my final point, point 4, which is false promises. I mentioned this in one of my religious videos just a few weeks ago, but it was false promises because you have religious people. I had religious people who would tell me things. Daniel, what happened to your friend when your friend killed himself, when your friend had a stroke and just randomly died? I had people tell me that, everything happens for a reason. Now, I have a video on my channel on this topic, that everything happens for a reason, which I believe is bullshit. It's just the most insensitive, inhumane, uncompassionate thing you can say to someone. And I don't understand how Christians or people within the church can give me these false promises saying that everything is going to be okay, that everything that's happening in your life, Daniel, is just a test. Everything is a test, Daniel. See, God's testing you. Yeah, somehow I don't really understand the correlation how God could be testing me when I was sexually molested at 16 by someone within the fucking church. That really just changes your mind on a lot of different topics when someone within the own church that you attended. In fact, I've heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard from other people that there was more sexual molestation and sexual abuse that was in the church that I used to attend. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that it was true for me, because that's, if it was, I honestly believe that if it wasn't for me going to that particular church and getting involved with the people that I got involved with, that I would not have had sexual molestation happen to me at age 16. I honestly believe that. And I'm not saying it's the church's fault or the church is to blame for that, but I'm just saying that I believe that there's a lot of dangerous things within the church, and there's a lot of hypocrisy, and there's a lot of things in which people pretend to be something that they're not. False promises is my fourth problem with why I left the church, and just the hypocrisy and the darn right judgment in which people pass on the other people. These are the reasons why I left the church at 18, and this is where I started to go down on my path, and my parents and many people even saw me. They were saying, "Daniel, I feel as if you're walking away from Christianity." And I was like, no, I'm not walking away from Christianity. I'm still a Christian. I just feel as if science, I need to look more into science. I need to look more into evolution. I need to start making decisions of my own and not just go to church and accept everything I hear as fact, or that's true. And that's what I started doing. And here I've come to the conclusion that now I don't really want anything to do with religion as a whole. I don't hate religious people. I have a lot of good Christian friends I love and care for. I'm not anti-religious at all. I will still go to church if my parents ask me kindly to go with them. You know, I'm not against that. But these are the reasons why I left the church at 18. My name is Daniel Sulzbach, also known as my name is Daniel Sulzbach, also known as Mr. Repsion. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. Thank you.